Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Israeli-born and New York City-based clarinetist and saxophonist Anat Cohen. She has been a huge part of a thriving American jazz scene since the late 1990s. She just released her latest album, Luminso, on her own record label called Anzic. Over the course of our interview, she discusses why it's so incredible to play with her brothers, her journey from Israel to America to pursue jazz, what has been going on these days, and much, much more. Dig it, my friends.
So before I get into your latest album, Luminosa, I just kind of want to get an idea of what's been going on with you lately as far as, shows and promotions, and what's been going on?
Well, I've been really busy. This year has been really busy, especially with the album coming out. I've been playing since February already, but mainly this past month in March. I was the whole month touring and promoting the album, and still going to do some shows this month, and planning. Of course, it's not the only thing I do. That's when I play with my quartet, but I have a lot of here and there. I went to Japan this year with Bruce Barth. He's a wonderful piano player, and I went to play with him, and I have some other things coming up in Europe, and different weeks with different people. So I still try to keep myself busy with different people and different kinds of music to get myself inspired.
Do you like to travel?
I like to arrive in new places.
Nice. Very nice.
I really like to arrive in new places. The actual physicality of traveling. Sometimes you can take a toll on the body, especially if you're taking a flight every day, and it can be quite exhausting. And also I think probably it's a different experience for piano players than horn players, since I have to carry all my instruments and always getting hassled by airlines about how many carry-ons, and I have to always use my bandmates to, can you take my clarinet so they don't tell me I have too many
yeah.
carry-ons and stuff. So, there's always you're always involved with some stress to be on the road. It's never and of course, especially in the winter when there's a lot of flight cancellations, and you just have to take a Zen mode and say, okay, there's some things I cannot control, and whatever happens, happens. So
Absolutely. Well, I got to listen to Luminosa, and it's a wonderful album, and I want to know what kind of creative energies, what kind of agenda did you have going into this album?
Okay, I have my working quartet, so which is Jason Lindner, Daniel Friedman, and Joe Martin. So already playing with these people, when we play together, I have certain ideas of how I want the music to feel, and I know I can get the emotional support from these people. And I think in general, when I look for something to document on an album or just to play a show, I mean, I very much care about the emotional process that goes into the music. I care about what music, that the musical moments speak for what it wants to be, speak for itself, but really support and let it be what it wants to be. And the people I choose to play with, for the most part, they're the people that understand that's what I care about. So, there's a few thoughts behind this album. I mean, it definitely started with a show I did of the music of Milton Nascimento, and taking his music, which is very, how to describe landscape and kind of masses of sounds, and very emotional. I mean, for me, that's why it's just something like, and also something like a little psychedelic music and sound his recordings. So then I said, you know what? I want to take this atmosphere, but not just play the music of Milton Nascimento. But then once we started to add, I said, it's time. I want to bring some of my own music. So the idea was, okay, take this approach, but also bring my own songs, and also, capture the Brazilian side. Since I'm going to have some Brazilian musicians, let my worlds collide, and the world of choro music, which I love, and I have recorded separately always with my quartet, separately than my quartet. I decided to collide my worlds and have my new band, Choro Venturoso, join this album and present them as a band on the album, and also collide them with my band, my quartet, to kind of create a sound that, when I told the guys, let's just play a song, all of us together, everybody looked at me and said, you're crazy. and I said, let's try, we're just going to start playing, and you guys just add your personality to the music. And that's maybe one of my favorite tracks on the album, the track number 9, the Choro, the Choro band and my quartet are playing together. So there's a lot of different sides of different me's.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. It's a wonderful album. So I want to kind of go, absolutely, I want to kind of go back into your life here. Growing up in Tel Aviv, talk to me about how Israel embraces jazz and how that environment lent to you loving music the way you do.
Well, first of all, I think Israel, like most places in the world, or maybe all places in the world, jazz is just a tiny part in people's the music-loving community.
Yeah.
But this kind of, the people that love jazz in Israel, the people that love jazz in other places, they have this similar, fan approach. They really love the music. They love the way it feels, and they love to share it, and they love to share it, with listening to it and playing it. So, I grew up in this environment of passion. People that really were passionate about music, and that's something that stayed with me, and that's what I like about music, and that's what I was taught from very young age by people that love this music, and you pass the torch, and you say, okay, we can only give you that much, and you're on your own from now on.
Yeah.
So, and of course, having my 2 brothers that are two extremely passionate musicians and dedicated and creative human beings and musicians, was just very healthy way of keeping myself inside jazz, watching it being done by my brothers, kind of following them, both Yuval, my saxophone player, playing older brother, and Avishai, my younger brother, playing trumpet, and just wanting to be like them because they're so great.
Yeah.
They always played so great, and I wanted to be like them. And, I was playing clarinet, and I was more playing classical music. I was not really focusing on jazz, and just really wanting to be like them. And then, having the great opportunity to have education in jazz in high school and play jazz in high school, where I met, people that until today were in close connection. And in fact, my partner and co-producer on this album, Oded Levari, he's a person that we were, in the same class in high school, and we were introduced to jazz more or less at the same time, and had the same teachers, and shared music and shared musical moments, and today we have a record label together, and we collaborate musically, and people that it's always been environment of people that I need to surround myself with, people that are serious and that dedicated people, because that inspires me I need to catch up.
Yeah.
I need to be like them. I want to be like them. And some people have the power to just be all by themselves, and I need other people.
Yeah.
And it helps. So that's a general description. I don't know how much I answered what you asked.
Yeah, you did. And you kind of lent into what I was going to ask later on, which is it must be a really great feeling to admire your brothers as much as you do and be able to record and release albums and be a part of that creative synergy. Do you love performing with them?
Oh, my God. It's the best. It's the best feeling ever. It's, I think, when you, as a person, when you go to a place and you feel maybe uncomfortable, or you're not sure what to say, or you feel like you need to adjust sometimes to what's going on, and then there's the people that there's this chemistry that you can just be yourself, and no matter what you do, they just let you be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me, it's the goal, outside of music, obviously, but it's also the goal to find those people that you collaborate with musically, and playing with my brothers. There's no better way to be myself.
Yeah.
There's an understanding of where we come from, an understanding of, the frustrations that we went through life, and the challenges and the achievements, and there's respect between each other, and there's a very, very healthy, competition, which is basically an inspiration of like, okay, I can do this, catch me if you can.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very healthy way, and of course, our family has, there's an interesting story with my older brother, which he had a medical setback, and he had to stop playing for a few years, and which made the fact that we can play together much more precious, and an understanding, oh my God, we can do it. We have to do it, because one day it can be gone.
Yeah.
So you have to celebrate being together, celebrate the connections for music is a gift. And I always ask people, do you have siblings that play music? Please play with them. You don't even know what an amazing thing it is until maybe you will know one day. But, just trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the one thing that's very interesting about Israel that's totally different from the States is the mandatory military service. And my question is this: how much did that make you grow? How important, and what did that do to your psyche to have to be kind of in that fold and to understand that part of your life?
It's an interesting experience being in an army. First of all, you go through basic training. That experience of just joining the army, the day you join the army, when you're just a young person getting out of high school, from the world is your oyster. This is like you feel like on top of the world, and then you get into this bus and they take you to a place where you put uniform and suddenly you're gone. You are nobody. Doesn't matter how many years you've been playing and how many concerts you've done and what you achieved. You're nobody. You're just a number, and learn to get along with all layers of society, and then learn to obey and to do things that maybe sometimes don't make sense, but because you just have to do them because somebody tells you to do them. And, to be part of something that is bigger, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, you still, it's mandatory. And, I wasn't questioning, whether I should, or could get out of it or not get out of it. I was just, being a soldier because it was something that we did, and it's a tradition that comes in this country. So it's an interesting experience, and in the grand view of things. And of course, musically, since I was lucky, and there's not a lot of people that are lucky to be able to play music in the military service in Israel. It's not like you request to be a musician and you just become a musician.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky to be able to be in a place where I could play music, and I played in the Air Force Big Band. Now that for itself was an experience, because on one hand you're a soldier and you have to do what you're told, and on the other hand you're a musician and you want to just you get to play and work on your art and practice. But the kind of music I played was not jazz; it was more of pop music and popular music, and it was also another glimpse to survival mode and to what people do, and to prepare you for real life and what kind of jobs you're supposed to be able to do when you get out of the army, and what's the difference between work and between art, and what do I want to do. And it was a very good learning experience, and I didn't fight anybody. I just played music, so I'm lucky.
Yeah. So when you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
You know what? I don't know. I never had this. I've never had a dream of what I want to be to grow up. I don't know. I wonder if everybody has those, fantasies about what they would be one day. I come from, very realistic and not much daydreaming in my family. I don't know, I never asked my brothers if they are different. Maybe they had a different approach and different conversations with my parents, but I was never a daydreamer. I just very realistic. Like, okay, that's what I'm doing, and whatever comes along, I mean, I make the best out of it, and I enjoy it. And if I don't enjoy it, I just change it and try to do something else. But I was never a big planner. Maybe because I always enjoyed what I was doing. I never had to. I enjoyed the process, and I always felt like I'm making a progress in being me and in being a musician, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, wonderful. So in your bio, you specifically note Louis Armstrong, Sidney Bechet, Benny Goodman, Dexter Gordon, Coltrane, Rollins. What was it about those musicians that moved you so much?
Passion, truth. You're talking about Bechet, you're talking about Dexter Gordon, you're talking about Train, and Louis Armstrong. I mean, how more honest than that can one be? Yeah, exactly. So, I think people, it's, especially being, under the umbrella of jazz musician, it's an endless process of information acquiring and going after more and more, and you have to know like the balance between, it's okay to be greedy with information, it's okay to learn, but maybe you don't always have to say everything at every given moment, and to learn the balance of how to just be what the music wants and how to serve the music. I think this is a lifelong process, and I really feel that when you play with the right people, then our job is just not to get in the way of the music. Yeah, absolutely. I don't always feel that I create. It's the universe. It's out there. You just have to let it be. Yeah, amen. So let me get kind of back into your lineage of when you came to the States. You got on the World Scholarship Tour. You went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. What kind of culture shock was that? What kind of experience was that to come to America and you're getting immersed in a really prestigious school of music? You said it yourself, a culture shock. Yeah. Definitely a culture shock, because I came from Israel, from Tel Aviv, from the big city, from where you kind of know everybody, and suddenly I'm in a city where it's so much bigger, and I don't know. I feel uncomfortable with the language. I feel like I don't know anything. Yeah. So it was the language. It was learning how to adapt to the culture, to the way people speak with each other, to be more gentle, to be more dialogue oriented conversations, to tone down your habits and not be so much outstanding, because you see it's existing in every culture. You see a bunch of people from Brazil and they'll be speaking maybe louder than other people, maybe like more like physical with each other, touch each other, hug, and they're like, okay, there's other ways of being and accept different cultures. And so I think it was first a language barrier, and then understanding how to just be part of different way of being, which is I think I'm used to it. Yeah, I would say so. So from Boston, you go to New York in '99. You play with Sherry Miracle's all-women big band and a couple other outfits. What was that like to make it to New York, the hub of jazz in the world? How did that feel? It's funny because, the same ratio of the way Boston felt big to me comparing to Tel Aviv, that's almost the same ratio as New York felt big to me comparing to Boston. Because I was living in Boston, I got comfortable there, and then you come to New York, and, it's funny, you walk around and you're nobody, and you have to be okay with being nobody. Yeah. To be okay with just just surviving and make friends and make connections by being a good person, by being humble, and by really working hard and let the music speak for itself. You don't graduate from Berklee and you go with your degree and you say, hey, I graduated Berklee, I need to play here. It doesn't work like that. So, you have to really go out and play. That's what we do. We play music, so people have to say, oh, that sounds good to my ears. You want to come back and play again, or why don't you come and sit in there? And I really felt myself walking around the city with my saxophone on my back and just sitting in as much as I can, and really trying to be everywhere at every given moment and being very confused as far as what I want to do, which, is kind of still I'm in the same kind of in the same phase. You never feel like, okay, now I play what I want to play and I'm done searching. So I'm in another search now. I don't know what's the next step. So you just kind of you meet the best of the best in so many different kinds of music, from playing people play, Cuban Cuban music or Brazilian music or the music of Louis Armstrong or I don't even know how to describe it, but there's like every kind of music has their group, their people, their fans and the musicians that play it, and it circles. And I wanted to always be playing as many kinds of music. I felt the more kinds of music I play, the better musician I'm going to be. It's going to be participating to who I am. And it doesn't work for everybody, but it's kind of what led me to my path. So I was just, this has been a constant search, and you never feel like, okay, now I made it. I think, maybe the first time I felt like, oh my God, I'm in New York, I'm a New Yorker. It's like maybe when the mailman recognizes you, you can say hello to the local mail person, or when you can walk into a store, or you can walk into, the best thing is when I could walk into a club and say, okay, just come in, you can just come in, because they've seen you, you've been part. So this is felt like such an achievement.
Yeah. So another facet of your diversity that you mentioned at the beginning of the interview was that you have your own label. Is it Anzic Records, and you established it in 2005?
2000 it started in 2005, but really officially it was established in 2007. My first album came out in 2005, and I did invent Anzic Records in 2005 and the name, but then you really officially made it a company in 2007 when I came out with my two albums with Noir and Poetica.
That has to be a great feeling to run your own gig, doesn't it?
On many levels, it definitely is great. It's not an easy gig, and especially in today's industry. Yeah. But it's very, very satisfying to know that. I think about it sometimes and I say, I am working and I am doing what I do, and I've only put out albums on Anzic Records, on my own, on our own, and it definitely, I'm very proud of this fact. Yeah.
So, in 2009, you became the first Israeli to headline at the Village Vanguard. What was that feeling like?
My first reaction was like, oh my God, I know. This is the people that needs to be there before I get to be there. And then I thought, wait a second, am I going to say no because other people deserve it more? No, I'm going to go for it and give it my best. And it was a very humbling experience. Oh my God, I was terrified.
Yeah.
So much respect for this club and for the history and for... It's just, it was, I still can't believe I played a few times at the Village Vanguard, and I played there. This is still, when I think about growing up and listening to live records from the Vanguard, I'm like, oh my God, I got to play there. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And you've gotten a lot of awards over the years. Is there one that really stands out that's very special to you of all the awards you've been given?
I am not sure how to answer this question.
Not that one's better than the other. I don't want to set it up like that, but just that sometimes there's certain honors, no matter how big or small, that you're just like, wow, that really stands out.
It's always, every time I'm acknowledged as a clarinet player, I'm in awe. I feel like I feel honored, and I feel more and more responsibility to represent. So each award or each recognition, citation makes me feel like I have more and more responsibility on my hands.
Yeah.
So I don't even, I don't think about it too much. I just feel like, okay, somebody out there is, raising me to, okay, more people are going to maybe consider what I say. It's really doesn't, it's not something that it doesn't make any change. It just makes you want to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could go back in time and catch a jazz show in any time, like any place, any time, what show would you like to see, and who would be performing at that show?
I would like to be at the Vanguard listening to Train playing.
Yeah.
And I would also want to be in Paris listening to Sidney Bechet.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be awesome. So tell me, what's the greatest thing for you about waking up every day?
I think it's just staying balanced.
Nice.
Be able to balance, it's interesting because when you're a musician, to be a musician and to be a person and which is it the same thing? Is it the same person? Is it like how to figure out what's the balance? And how, and the balance inside the music, and, if you're going to play music, you're going to write music, you're going to listen to music, you're going to go out and hang out, or you're going to, meditate and do personal, just figure out I'm still like looking for this formula that I feel like this one works for me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with this formula. And I think that the biggest challenge for me is being a traveling musician and know that I might find a formula, and then I leave for 3 weeks, and then I come back and I'm like, what was I doing 3 weeks ago again?
Yeah.
So that's basically the biggest challenge.
Interesting. So my final question for you is this: what is next for you? What are you looking forward to do, say, here in 6 months, a year, years down the line? What do you want to continue to do with your career?
I want to be able to first keep creating and creating music that is meaningful, creating projects that are meaningful, that are not just play music. I do something bigger. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know. I'm in the process of trying to figure it out.
Right on. Anat, thank you very much for your time. Continued success. Your music's joyous, and it was a great time talking with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe, for calling me and taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Anat Cohen for her time, honesty, and incredibly good jazz. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or you can always visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things neon jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.